Hello and welcome to RaceSpotTV coverage of the Apex Racing Academy F3 Championship. It's round number 8. It's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve's in Montreal, Canada, and we should be in for an absolute cracker. Coming into this weekend, well, doesn't leave a whole lot left. After this, we go Zandvoort, then we've got Imola, Red Bull Ring, which I can guarantee in F3 cars will be fantastic. Equally fantastic will be Silverstone. They'll be side by side every single corner. It's crackers from here on out to the finish. September 3rd, it's one race after another here in the Apex Racing Series. My name's Tom Davis. I'll be taking you through as much of the action as I can on here with short notice. Alongside me, the fantastic Lorenzo Bonder, and of course in the box, as you like, pressing all the buttons, doing all the things I don't understand, Hugo Luis. Fantastic job. But Lorenzo, what are we expecting at this track? Because it should be fantastic racing all over the place, right?
So this is a tricky one for me. Hello, Tom. Good to see you here once again. And all right, this could go two ways, people. First and foremost, it can provide a banger of a race, or otherwise it might provide some carnage on lap 1, because it is one of those tracks, right? It is not an easy track by any stretch of a mile. It's very easy for you to make mistakes, especially with the cold tires. So you have to be dialed in every lap that you do, especially maybe the first 3 laps where you kind of have to set the pace early on.
Yeah, it is a car with downforce. Obviously, immediately all of those tire temperatures and brake temperatures, everything comes into play. So, you want to make sure, of course, that everything's up to temperature so you can then deploy all that downforce. Drivers at the moment just going around qualifying and all that good stuff. But, I mean, what about this championship? This is the first time I've been on the commentary for this series. How's it been brewing up over the course of the season?
So it's been a very interesting one with a wide domination from DRS with Italy driver of Adrian Falcon. He's basically been dominating every single race of the season. Last time he actually won as well at the I'm trying to remember the track, but I got a full blank. But it's been a really good battle in between at Spa-Francorchamps. I'm gonna remember now, Spa. But anyway, Ralph Benitez, Paulo Draieta, Flavio Donna has been a very good contested battle between the Brazilians, and then we got some guys outside the window that have been contesting as well. So it's going to be a very interesting race, and I'm interested to know which account that is Draieta is actually on right now, because he's in top 10 twice.
Yeah, it is very, very close, as ever with these sorts of series, and I think that should be what we're in for in the race today. Obviously, all the drivers at the moment, as you mentioned, they're going through their qualifying. Falcon with a good lap, Dantas up there. Your sort of usual suspects that you would anticipate. But as downforce comes, we speak about this at tracks such as Spa as well, whereby there are corners on this track. The first sector is full of really tricky bits, and at the moment you got the 4-car Ralph Benitez coming through it. You need all the rear downforce, front downforce you can get, because your turning, your rear traction is so crucial. But you're trying to balance that surely with the huge back straight and then the pit straight as well.
It's not the easiest track on a long stretch for you to drive. You basically got to run into turn number 1, and then you go into the Vira Senna, which is the turn 2 hairpin, and you get to the twisty part of the track where I think the most mistakes will happen, which is from turn 3 all the way down into turn 10, which is the hairpin of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But other than that, it's a very, very interesting corner to not an interesting corner, but a very interesting sector for you to drive, because if you get it right, you can make so much time right here, which is going to be fun to watch.
For sure. And I think as well, one of these things, if there is a group for the lead as opposed to just a straight out duel, you'll see position swapping quite often without them really want to slow each other down on those back straight, and then it'll all kick off as the race goes on. So there will be some degree of tactics, some degree of, if I'm P8, I want to be P3 at least come towards the final few laps. So there will be movers all the time. That sort of F3 race that develops as you come through. We got the grid, I believe, for you ladies and gentlemen. We shall see if it pops up on your screen. If not, I think I can take it through without it coming up. Here it is. Pole position, Adrian Falcon. He's once again pulled it out the bag. Alongside him on the front row, you'll find the 4-car of Ralph Benitez. Flavio Dantas and Chao Colette are behind those guys. 5th and 6th, that's Thiago Spencer and Ted Bradbury from the UK. Paulo Dreita of Brazil will start from 7th with Victor Bolia in P8. 9th and 10th rounding out that top 10, Max Bartolotta and Tobias F. Olsen. Just outside the top 10, only just missing out, Thomas Pintos and Connor Wagner. Those two will be immediately looking to gain positions off the start. Kjetil Larsen starts 13th, and alongside him, Scandinavian colleague Thomas Torp, if that's a name we've heard before. Joshua G. Wilson will be 15th. 16th is Dante Machado. 17th, Claudio Visparelli. And 18th will be Simon Fess. A little bit of ground to make up for Simon in the 20 car. 19th and 20th, Luca Farias and Alexander Scarrett, respectively. 21st, just outside that top 20, Jean-Christophe Trahan. And Philippe Pascal will be alongside him, going from the 22nd grid spot. The 23rd grid spot is filled by Reese Saunders, with Zachary Buchanan alongside him in 24th. And rounding out the grid, all on his lonesome on the back row, Lubo Schweitz will be, well, I guarantee looking to make progress, because you don't want to be on the back row, do you, Lorenzo?
It's going to be interesting to see how Lubomir Schweitz actually going to tackle F3 cars, first and foremost. He's probably going for the last to first challenge right here. And Lubomir, for those who don't know, he drives for the B-Light Racing Aeronix team. We saw him the SCO Spot 24 hours a few weeks ago. Talented driver, but I never see him do F3s. I think his Twitch chat might be elated to see him do a different car other than the GTs.
Yeah, I think that's what would happen if I stepped in anything. The GTs I could not crash, but just about anything else, totally hopeless. The gap is bigger than I think you ever anticipate if you've not driven it. In terms of the circuit itself, if you're interested in these sorts of facts, built on Notre Dame Island, which was actually man-made for the 1967 Expo, and the Olympic Basin for the canoeing, the kayaking, the rowing, all of that sort of stuff, runs from turn 10 through to turn 2.
Yeah, and as we have the green flag over here, and everybody trying to get themselves around the track. Pretty clean start so far here, Tom, and the only thing we need to notice now is how they're going to cycle themselves through this tricky portion of the track where carnage can happen pretty easily if you are caught off guard.
Yeah, immediately we get into tricky zones because you're going to have a huge traction zone any second now. Adrian Falcon already looking to make progress up the field. He's got, what is that already? 1.5 seconds to the good. There's a late lunge coming in from the 3 car. Paulo Dreita making a little bit of progress up the field. And in fact, there's going to be more progress from the 11. Tobias F. Olsen in that pale yellow machine goes to the inside. He's looking to get past Bolia, and he manages it before contact. Around he goes. 2 into 1 does not go, particularly at turn number 8. He'll get going. It was only a small touch. Front wing on Bolia is something we'll have to look out for as well. But here's the front fight. Everybody tucks in for Slipstream City. The first time of asking out a little bit wide, actually, is Bolia after that contact. We'll see if that progresses. But who's going to be bold enough? Lap number 1, we run down towards the Wall of Champions for the first time of asking. Who's running high downforce? Who's running low downforce? Who fancies a little bit of lunge on what will still be cold front tires? The answer is, at this stage, nobody in that front 4 or 5. Here comes Victor Bolia taking a little look, and behind him, Paulo Dreita gains a position. Great move from the 3 machine up a position. 1 lap done. Just about everybody still running.
Everybody but Tobias Olsen actually running, so quite surprising to see every single car spot being a very atrocious track. And now Bortolotta in the inside going for the position and actually seals the deal for the time being.
Yeah, it was a good one. Minus me, I was the one who made the mistake off the start. I was expecting a green flag lap, to be honest, given that I've not covered the series before, so I do apologize. Oh, round goes. Is that Thomas Pintos in the 23? 21 of Claudio Visparelli. That's a shame. He'll get going. It was around hot rear tires and a little bit of broken pride, but nothing hurt on the car, I don't think.
Apparently nothing broken. What surprises me even more is now we're going to look in the replay. This 3 and 4 is so tricky, especially this transition 4 where the car kind of gets a little bit light and it's a little bit of a downhill. What impresses me is that it was kind of on the apex, on the exit, and it still was on track because we see more contact in the lead. That's the Iocale car getting collected. Our F3 driver from FMP Motorsports getting collected on the hairpin.
Yeah, Yeah, not great. And has to wait so long to get going again. We'll now get a replay of this one into the hairpin. Oh, it's just a touch too late on the brakes from the car behind, and around you go. At that speed, you've not got downforce helping you out, and before you know it, the smallest tap unsettles the rear end. Here's another fight happening slightly further down the order. P10, Bartola looking to make progress. Fastest lap of the race goes to Falcon, only to be taken away from him by Ralph Benitez. He got the gap down to 1.2 seconds at the front. Very, very good pace from him. Falcon's not going to have it all his own way, clearly.
No, I think this might be the first time in about a week or so, and I'm seeing as Bradbury actually dings the wall into turn number 4. Might have some big damage on his car, especially on the back end. That Falcon might have some true challenge, because Ralph is nearly exclusive on these F3 cars. I think he's a former champion in the F3s, so he's a guy that can bring up the fight to Adrian Falcon. But the DRS wave literally has been just tremendous this season.
Yeah, it's consistency is key, I think, in a series like this. A lot of rounds in the championship, and Falcon is doing a very, very good job of that. Here's a little battle, though. Will he have to go to... Oh, it's a late move to the defense there. Bradbury, I mean, he was on the limit. He's been passed around the outside. Very, very impressive from the car going all the way around. Now Bradbury gets the opportunity, tuck into the slipstream, get your elbows in, see if you can chase down the guy who just passed you, but instead, here comes the 8 car again. Bolia clearly not having any damage from that earlier touch because he's all the way through. What about Bradbury? I mean, he just doesn't seem to be moving on the straights.
He has to bring the car to the pits. If we could look, his rear right is fully bent on the suspension. Like, it's basically the tire is nearly converging with the car as Falcon does the fast lap once again. And is that thing, you know, the transition from 3 to 4 is so tricky as we see someone making a very, very interesting dive into turn number 1.
Here's another fight. Get the switchback through turn 2 potentially for Joshua G. Wilson. Not quite close enough. He needs to make sure he doesn't go for anything too aggressive in terms of the block pass, because he has got a number of cars lurking, waiting to take advantage. Jean-Christophe Trahan is not too far back, as is Felipe Pascal sitting in 18th position. This is the fight for 15th, to put it in perspective. So they're all very, very close. And just as we say that, through comes Jean-Christophe. Brilliant move from him in the red car. It does give actually a little bit of space to Reece Saunders up ahead. Now potentially 2 in 2 corners lost, but the door is slammed shut to the outside of Jean-Christophe. That's not going to work. 22 is going to get cost momentum. Felipe Pascal to the outside. Is he able to take advantage? The answer is not quite yet, but he's setting himself up for the dive. Closing all the time. Closer still. Backs out of it and almost actually comes under a little bit of pressure from that inverted livery behind.
Yeah, you can see now they're going side by side, but it looks like Joshua got the bad exit, now going to the casino straight. It's going to be basically a shootout into the entry of the Wall of Champions chicane, and right behind him is Caio Collet. So Caio trying to look for the opportunity to make the move and try to regain this position he lost at the start of the race.
That's very, very good race car from the 3 of them. The 7 on the cutback. Colette trying to get the pair. He's got 2 more cars lurking behind him. That's Zachary Buchanan and Alexander Scarrett. As these guys hold each other, a little bit of aggressive defense. All the way in comes Zachary Buchanan, the latest man on the brakes that you've ever seen, and then a little bit more. Brilliant from Zachary. Gets one of them. Now he'll set off after the next ones. Colette and Pascal are still fighting. A look back to the inside for Joshua G. Wilson, who's lost more places than that. He was at the head of this little group, remember. Now he's plummeted all the way down over the past lap or so. Colette's getting even more aggressive on Pascal now. Not quite close enough there, but with the slipstream and the progress Colette's making, you feel it's going to happen soon. So much more front end on the 7 machine. Turns underneath Pascal as if he's not even there. Will he be late on the brakes? The answer is yes. Jobs are good and move on up 1 position. Ciao Colette.
Yeah, Caio actually doing a really good job after the mistake that Buchanan, that Bradbury actually touched him on over here on the hairpin. And the MP Motorsport driver for the F3, for this current F3 season, trying to regain his remaining spots. Trying to get a little bit of practice around the track as we see Bolea under threat.
I mean, that's just textbook there, isn't it? Brilliant from Bartoletta. Moves on up a position. Balea down one. Balea in the green machine. Tucks in behind. Looks for the slipstream. Actually takes a little bit of a look to the inside of one. Was a little bit too far back. It would have been optimistic at best. Foolish at worst, I think, if Balea had gone for that. But he decided against it. Tucks behind. Lives to fight another day. And all the time, again, as these guys fight, Thomas Torp, a name some of the RaceSpotTV viewers will be familiar with, closes in all the time.
Yeah, it's one of those things, if you cannot seal the deal immediately, what happens is, usually in these overtakes attempts, you can lose about 4 tenths of a second, and that's easily ground enough here at Montreal for a driver to come closer and contest. But this is a track that you kind of have to rely on mistakes, and now you're going to see Joshua Wilson going through the Wall of Champions and saving that car. How does he keep that on track?
There's no way this car is still going at the end of this, surely. That is ridiculous. I mean, I know it's not exactly a rally car, but come on, that was ridiculous car control. Here's a fight happening, however. Purple v Purple, just to make it difficult for us in the commentary box. This is actually just on the cusp of the top 5. Thiago Spencer goes to the inside of Conor Wagner. Both of these guys trying to close in that gap to the top 3. They're running 4th and 5th at the moment, and that's why you've not seen too much defense there. It's Wagner, Spencer, and Drater, this little group, and there will be a little bit of defense now. Although, presumably, I was about to say, presumably we'll slot back in at turn 1. Thinks, do you know what, I'd rather be running in the middle of this little pack. Gets aggressive on the brakes, slides out a little bit wide, compromises the run, but still going. And as I say, these guys, they're quite a way off of that front 3. Some 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds now separates them. But if they can work together with the slipstream, maybe they're working their tyres a little bit more kindly than the guys ahead, and there's still a chance of a podium. Plus, there's always crashes. The top 3 are really pushing their luck with the pace they're running.
Yeah, they're pushing really close. They're doing 120, 129 mids, Falcon, Benitez, and Dantas right now. Whereas these guys are on the 30s right now, as we see the Delta Sport driver of Conor Wagner trying to chase both EG Racing, Paulo Draeta, and Thiago Spencer. So it's going to be interesting how Conor kind of negotiates going over like 2 guys of the same team. And he was right in the middle of the sandwich. That's what allowed Draeta to come closer in the last turn and made the overtake in turn number 1. So it makes it's hard enough for you to get a driver that is racing fair but hard against you, but let alone his teammate, which is like glued onto your rear wing.
Yeah, here it comes again, closing all the time is Paulo Draeta. Not close enough on that one. I did notice Conor Wagner actually took a different line through the turn 10 hairpin. Attempted to cut back for a late apex, get better drive, but it didn't quite work for him. So he's looking for a move. Defensive from Paulo Draeta. We now got side-by-side pictures. On the right, there's a glorious battle happening ever slightly down the field. That's Rhys Saunders, I believe, at the head of this one.
Yep.
All around him is other F3 cars, the gist of it. Zachary Buchanan's bailed into the pits, which is the same after that brilliant turn 1. We'll see why
now
this
Calais, actually Calais and Jahan got collected, and now Pasquale gets collected again on turn 1.
Oh, the Wall of Champions
collected around.
Another.
I think he claims it's first.
Yeah, claims it's first today. Here's the move you were talking about. Saw it live. Now we get it on the replay. I mean, that's just a bit foolish, to be honest, from the pair. Oh, dearie me. Oh, I mean, that's a carnival of errors, that is. I wouldn't have done any better, but that Calais still going round in the background. That's Pascal trying to get it moving again. I mean, it's bound to happen when you're racing this closely together, but unfortunate for Calais. Definitely not his issue. The 2 behind him fighting hammer and tongs and maybe a little bit of fork as well. And before he came in, 3 into 1, not even 2 into 1. This is Bullia. We've seen 3 or 4 moves involving him already this race. Victor has got another bit of pressure. This is Thomas Torp closing on him ever since we last saw Victor. Now Thomas Torp in the slipstream. Will he pull out for the dive in towards the final chicane? Turns 13 and 14, not close enough. Dantas in 3rd, sets fastest lap. Now Bully's under pressure. Thomas Torp to what will become the inside at turn number 1. How brave is Bully on the brakes? You can hold this one around the outside. That's exactly what's going to go. Deep claims the inside for the 2nd corner. Thomas Torp will have to try again.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing shades of what happened to Phillip Island with Torp and Bolea, because they both were going at it constantly after Torp, I think, got shuffled back a few spots in Phillip Island. It was right in the middle of the pack with Bolea and a few other drivers. So good to see that Torp is fighting to try to get back, not back into it, but get some spots up within the top 10.
Still making progress. Here comes Thomas Thorpe. He's not giving up on this one. This is for P9. Hits the rev limiter in the slipstream. Plenty of curve on the inside. And again at turn 9. Now you're looking to set up towards the inside of the hairpin is what you want. But Bolea is aware of that. Covers the middle to discourage it. Then actually leaves it open if Torp wants to try the lunge. But with only being on lap 9 of 20, that's not the wisest idea. So they all settle down, get the drive, and now it goes back to that slipstream city once again. It's about a kilometer here as you run down towards that final chicane, and Torp is closing on every single meter of it. To the inside goes Thomas Torp in the white car. Victor Bolea on the outside. Nothing he can do because the move is done before they get anywhere near the braking zone. Whilst all that's happening, another fastest lap of the race, Flavio Dantas. The top 3 now covered by 1.5 seconds. They're all coming together, which means we're in for a good show.
We're in for a good show, and let's see how Falcon is actually gonna contest this one. Like, Falcon, pretty much this season, there has been a few races he got really uncontested. He dominated Phillip Island. He basically blew everybody out of the water in the last race. But this race, I think, because it is a much tighter track, it is a very more difficult track. It makes it easier because Falcon now makes the mistake and allowed Benitez to come closer. I was just looking over here. So we could actually see the P1 battle brew up between this top 3.
These guys, I mean, there are not more polar opposite tracks, I think. Unless you're going to start going into street circuit territory. Phillip Island and the Gilles Villeneuve track are about as different as it comes, and Gilles Villeneuve is pretty much a street circuit anyway. Here comes another move. The inside is covered this time, so it's going to have to be down the outside, but once again, the slipstream is strong enough that the 4 car gets that done. Benitez into the lead, and
Falcon's
into the pits
spinning.
comes Falcon. Well, not entirely sure why that would be. It was sort of the perfect move for Benitez, and Falcon just completely bails.
Did he actually get crashed that damaged the suspension?
Has
Now
he
I'm
picked
curious.
up too many X's? Too many incident points?
Oh, I think. Oh, it is unfortunate. The second chicane, the one that is turns 8 and 9, he got it on the exit of 9, touched the right hand side of the tires, and that was enough to bend the suspension on the right rear. The same thing that I think happened to Ted Bradbury, but he did that on 4, and that basically is race over for the championship leader. That is huge. That has championship's implications right here, right now.
It does, and it means it's a vital evening now for Benitez and Dantas. If you're not aware of where we think that touch happened, it's right here. You break through 7, 8 is this one, and it's so easy to drift into the wall right there because you can already see how close the cars get to it when they're on the correct line. So you step on the throttle, or the rear end just steps out for a moment, and before you know it, you've hit it. Here's the replay on board with that Trent Falcon. He's on it too quickly and understeers that front right into the wall. I mean, it's easily done, but when you're leading the race, it's a rookie mistake, really.
It is. It's so weird. And for me, that is so weird because that is actually the proper line to do it. You kind of ride that curb on the inside, as we see Connor going on the inside, and Spencer just lets him go by. So the Delta Sport UK moving up 1 spot. But it's such a line that it's so easy. It is easy on paper to do, but the reacceleration after you go into the curbing on the outside of going on the inside of 9, going to the outside part of the corner, it's so tricky that the car can step out a little bit, and that may be what's happened to Falcon and getting him the push into the wall.
It is one of those awkward corners where you can have both understeer and oversteer as an issue if you take it just a little bit wrong, so you never ever know what's going to hit. Here is the battle. Thiago Spencer, Conor Wagner. We were looking at this one just a little bit earlier. we were saying, actually, when we were talking about it, there might be a crash. This might become the fight for the final podium spot, and that's exactly what it is now. Paulo Dreita just at the head of it. He's in third. Connor Wagner is in the middle, and Thiago Spencer at the back. They're all purple, but we'll try and keep you updated with who is who. Use the time screen and the numbers is my advice on the left-hand side. They break in towards the hairpin. You want a relatively late apex here so you can get off the steering lock and apply all of that power to the ground, to the surface. And now you start to slipstream. And what do you do if you're Thiago Spencer here? Because if you fight Wagner too hard, the gap to Dreita increases. But if you don't pass him, he's clearly slower than Dreita.
Yeah, it's that very tricky balance that you kind of have to do. And let's not be wrong. I think Connor was P4 last season in the F3, so he knows how to drive this car to the very limit out of it. So Connor can actually just try to drive his lines without thinking too much about Thiago, because Thiago, I drove with Thiago in many championships here in Brazil. I've been always a guy that been praising him for his evolution in the sim, especially in these low-tier power cars in the F3s from a Renault 2000. His evolution has been crazy. He's much better. He's faster than me. He's much faster than me. Like, in the beginning, I was slightly faster than him, but now he blows me out of the water. It's insane. So it's those lines. You cannot think too much about the driver behind you, and you have to stay focused every single line that you do.
If he's faster than you, I mean, I dread to think what would happen if I got anywhere near a sim that he was on at any given stage. This battle's still brewing, as we say. We've reached lap 13 of 20, and this is the stage where those who pushed hard at the start will be beginning to feel the tires relative to those who took it calmly. So the gaps have opened up to the maximum, and now it'll all come back down again from this point. And let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, the gaps haven't been that big, given that this is supposed to be the maximum. They're on the back straight now, and it is coming a little bit more even further back in the field. Colette is trying to come back up once again. We've seen a little bit of Rhys Saunders in this brilliantly bright livery. Colette behind. Saunders for a moment thinks about covering the inside, now moves to it a little bit later, forces Colette to the outside. How late is Colette on the brakes? Are they brave as a fox? The answer is we don't really know, because there's been a connection issue for Colette and they emerged behind, so the answer was no, not quite, but I think still plenty brave enough given there's a connection issue. They'll set up and try again, but they've lost a couple car lengths in amongst all of that.
I think Colette didn't want to risk it way too much into the chicane, because that could have ended so badly for him. I think the fact that the Saunders managed to cover up pretty well the entry of the chicane and did Calais any possibility of overtake for Calais. So that's why he had to back down a little bit and allow Lubermich-Schwitz to come closer. But what impresses me is the pace out of Calais despite the broken wing.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredible. Here it'll come again. How Calais, you'd have to be very, very bold to do it. It's 8 and 9, but a step out of the rear end of Saunders' car, and was almost contact again for Calais as he was closing in. Will he look to the inside on the brakes? He's got less front downforce than he'd want. He doesn't care. He sends one down the inside. He's going to go so deep. He's in the Marina Trench by the time he's turned that one in. Gets it fired back out. His exit speed is humongous, however, to the outside. Saunders covers the inside. He's going to have to do this the hard way. His car not running at maximum performance. It's got a little bit more drag because of that front wing issue, so he'll tuck into the slipstream. Here comes Kyle Calais. He looks to the inside now. He's already tried on the brakes a corner ago. Doesn't try it this time. Decides the threat of the wall of champions is simply too high, and Calais definitely driving like a champion at the moment. Brave and as bold as you like. Now he'll close in. Is it going to be at turn number 1? No. And Saunders breathes a sigh of relief, I expect, because it means he's got a couple corners to gather himself up before he knows this onslaught will continue. In fact, it might be immediate to the inside of 3, maybe. No, not quite close enough. And another mistake. Saunders so deep. Saunders is in the wall. He's round. He's in the middle of the circuit. Does anybody collect up with him? The answer is not quite. Saunders gets it going with a wonderful spin turn. Credit to Rhys, but the pressure simply too great.
Simply too great. And let's look at the replay this one, as Oh, it's the famous grass one. He flipped the grass and he tried to come back on the track and stay within the line, but just couldn't do anything. He lost 2 positions right there, 3 positions Saunders right now. So somehow still on the track, and he got really lucky because that is not a spot where your car actually avoids the wall.
No, that could have been an awful lot worse.
What amazes me even more, he's not slotted to race in Canada. There is no Canada within the current F3 season. There is not even Canada in the F1 season. He's driving like he's actually driving the F3 season. He's in P8 right now. He's in the top 10. He's one of the biggest positioning prospects in Formula in quite a while now, like touted by many drivers. So it's interesting, this aggressiveness out of Calais and putting that pressure in actually is working out a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a very, very impressive drive from Calais. I suppose this is maybe the sort of environment where you learn the skills, you know, you take it as an opportunity to try those overtakes. But when the stakes are higher, it's not worth testing it, experimenting with it. This is developing again already. These two getting very, very close together. Will there be a close in for this slipstream for Simon Fessy? He's closing in on Larson all the time. He's not going to be close enough into 8. He might be able to carry the speed through 9, but actually he's understeering a little bit, and he'll have to wait just, well, I mean, at least 1 corner longer before he tries the overtake.
Let's see how Fessy, if he's actually gonna negotiate right here. I think there is no room enough for him to make the overtake, and gonna try to work the draft right here as they go into the casino straight. But he cannot afford to lose a lot of time. Luca Ferraris is actually a little bit behind them, so Luca has all the pace necessary to actually get closer to them and make it a 3-car contest.
As we've seen before, fighting does cost you an awful lot of time, and Fessy ought to be aware of that. In the yellow and black machine, dives to the inside, sides back over to the right-hand side of the circuit. I think he was somewhat fortunate not to lose the rear end amongst all of that. Incredibly aggressive movements, jerking side to side, like he's doing a jive, but he'll slot back in behind and wait to see what happens. We did have some support in chat for Paulo Dreiter, currently running 3rd position, to give him a little mention. He has, however, got Wagner still only a second behind him, and only a second behind that is where you'll find Thiago Spencer. So that battle for 3rd, it's a little bit too spaced out to try the overtake, but it is no means over yet.
No, it is not over yet whatsoever. But it's going to be interesting how Fessy is going to negotiate this. He has about 4 laps total to try to make the overtake, and you can see the front end of his car. Looks like he has some bruises and scars from wars, but it is intact in one piece. So he has car enough, and it looks like he has pace enough to try to get closer to Larson and make the move.
Well, here it is, closes in. This is actually for the final position in the top 10, so quite important for Simon Fessy. He'll tuck behind. The gap's going to be a little bit too big to have a think about it. Well, it's going to be a lot too big. I think I mentioned an optimistic move earlier. This would have been very optimistic, but he closes in all the way through turns 13 and 14, the right-left chicane to complete the lap. Now he'll close in again with the slipstream down the pit. Well, almost straight, because you curve to the right before you reach this turn number 1. He's deep off the apex, but as was Larson ahead of him, so no time lost nor gained there. Get on the power, be really careful, because it's so easy to slip the rear there, and once you do it once, it heats up, and you do it every lap after that. Inside curb, little bit of grass. He's got so much more confidence, not just in the rear end, but also in the front, with the way he's able to turn this yellow Formula 3 Dallara machine in. Inside curb taken at turn number 6 as well, which shows how comfortable he is, how much he knows, how much he's able to anticipate in terms of what the car is going to do underneath him. Here is turn number 8, where it all went wrong for the former race leader, Adrian Falconi. Got that one wrong, understeered at the next part, into the wall. Benitez is leading, no such issues for Simon Fessy on the brakes. He does not try the move we saw earlier on in the race. Decides, you know what, I don't think the lunge from about 10 meters back is the best of ideas. And before you know it, we're back on this straight. The gap is maybe a little bit smaller than it was before, but it's much the same. Dantas now 29.3 fastest lap of the race. The gap is 1.92 seconds or so at the front, but I mean, if you're going to put in an effort, do it on the penultimate lap, I suppose.
Yeah, you'd rather be the hunted in the last lap than the previous last lap, because you don't have to defend for 2 whole laps and engage in a lot of pressure racing. So you can see Fassi making the overtake attempts, trying to get the max pressure he can out of Larson. So let's see if Fassi is going to be able to make any overtakes before the casino straight, because if he does that kind of eases up the path a little bit for him.
I think that was the age-old sort of like arcade racing game braking technique, where you wait for the other guy to brake and then you hit it there from Larson. It was very, very reactive into turn 1, but credit to him. He's holding on to that final position in the top 10. He's fending off the 20. Luca in the 17, not actually getting too much closer in the background, so he's able to fight and defend like this as it stands. Just obviously you don't want to be getting blocked past because you've annoyed the other guy. Much closer this time, however, is Simon Fassi in the yellow and black car. Your leaders already on to the final lap of the race. These guys have one more run down the straight after this, and Larson will be wishing that he didn't have to do that, because closing all the time. Fassi to the outside, the left-hand side of the circuit. They run parallel to the Olympic basin. Is he able to be late enough on the brakes? The answer is yes. He's waited 2, 3, 4 laps to get it done. And finally, Simon Fassi up into the top 10. Is there a response from Larson? He's, I think, running a little bit less downforce, but he's not able to utilize that to close in. And before you know it, the position has gone to Fassi, and it doesn't look like going back the other way.
No, it doesn't look like it is going back another way, as now I think we could get out our eyes on Drayetta and Connor Wagner's battle for P3, because Wagner following Drayetta the best he can into turn 8 and 9, and the Delta Sport UK driver trying to apply a massive pressure on the EG Racing driver, even driving the highest lines in. Crashing to 9. Does he have damage?
He's got to have damage. That was a huge hit. That was bigger than Falcon's earlier on in the race. This tire smoked over here. That's the 20 car. Fassi's gone round. Fassi fought all race to get into the top 10 and dropped out on the final lap of the race. Who's in front in the Drayta-Wagner battle? Still Paulo Drayta in 3rd position. That's Ralph Benitez, who's come through. He was gifted the lead, and he'll come across the line to take a fantastic win here in Montreal. Behind him, Dantas didn't quite have the pace. Fastest lap of the race, but incredible consistency from Benitez to take the win here in round number 8 of the Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 Championship. What's happening between Wagner and Drayta? Wagner gave it all he had. The gap across the line was only 0.570, but he wasn't close enough. We now ride on board with Calais slightly further back in the field. The car ahead, the reason why we're looking at this is Simon Fassi. Has Fassi got damage? Is he able to carry the speed through the final chicane? Yes, Fassi gets very close to the wall up ahead, but it'll be enough to hold on to the position. Fassi, after all that, will only cross the line in 13th. And Larson, I think, will be having a song and a dance. Here's the issue for Fassi in the yellow black car on the power. Way too early. Larson actually did very, very well to avoid that, as did Luca Ferre. Fair play to everybody for avoiding that one. Unfortunate for Simon Fassi, but again, these cars are balancing on the throttle all the time, and it's so easy to do. Here's the results, though. Ralph Benitez wins it here in Montreal. Joining him on the podium, Flavio Dantas in the 2 car and Paulo Drayta in the 3 car. Nice to see the 2 and 3 finishing in 2 and 3, actually. Connor Wagner couldn't quite get onto the podium in 4th, with Thiago Spencer rounding out your top 5. Max Bartolotta was in 6th, and Thomas Pintos was some way behind that in 7th. Thomas Torp, we saw him make a couple good moves in the race. He was 8th. Victor Bolia was involved in a lot of moves, some up, some down. He finished 9th, and rounding out your top 10, well, it was inherited by Kjetil Larson. He kept it together. Luca Ferre just missed out on that crucial top 10. He finished 11th with Dante Mikado, only 5.5 or so seconds back. Simon Fassi, 13th. brilliant drive from him. The result does not reflect the effort nor the performance. Same can be said for Khaled, actually. He finished 14th in the end. Lubo Shovitz, that was a name I was always going to struggle with, finished in 15th, with Philippe Pascal in 16th. Rhys Saunders had an incredibly exciting race to cross the line in 17th, with Alexander Scarrett, again, some distance behind in 18th. Rounding out your top 20, Falcon, what could have been for Adrian, who's leading the race, could have extended the championship lead. Instead, he's going to drop back in that championship with only a limited number of races to go. In your top 20, rounded out by Claudio Visparelli, 1 lap down, and before you know it, we're into some of the non-finishers below that. 21st. Well, we shall see. Did 21st cross the line? 21st did. That was Joshua G. Wilson. Finished 2 laps down. And then Jean-Christophe Tahan was involved in an incident we caught earlier on. Zachary Buchanan, 23rd. Ted Bradbury, unfortunate again, was showing good pace, ended up 24th. And Tobias F. Olsen retiring on that first lap of the race. I mean, what an event. This championship, I've seen it a couple times as a fan. First time jumping in as a commentator, and it never fails to deliver, does it?
No, it doesn't. I like the F3s way too much because they provide you this kind of a hard... I'm trying to find heart-pounding racing of sorts and very close racing to one another if you got the pace. And it's one of the most interesting and intriguing championships of what iRacing can provide. And getting a top 3, Brazilian top 3, for me is kind of good. I think me and Hugo will be happy a little bit here in the production booth. But other than that, I think the next track provides some really good battles, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the next track, I believe, will be Zandvoort, which is just going to be ridiculous. I mean, Zandvoort and F3 cars, you're going to be asking a lot of the drivers, I think, and when you ask a lot of drivers, you'll see all sorts of overtakes and near enough every single corner. You got fast flowing sections, big stops as well, and it should set up for a brilliant event. After that, we go Imola. Red Bull Ring hosts the penultimate round, which I don't know if you've ever seen either W Series or Formula 3 there in real life. It will be incredible, as will your final round of the season, September 3rd, Silverstone. Can it get more classic than that?
Yeah, it can get more classic than that. For me, Zandvoort is going to be interesting because it is part of the current F3 calendar. So if Calais is back with us once again next Friday, it might serve a little bit of a practice for him whenever he gets into the real thing and try to get a result for MP Motorsport. So other than that, this calendar for the final 4 races, it's stacked. There is no race where you can say it's a dull race. Every race is going to be a banger from now on, and I can't wait to see what Silverstone brings because I love Silverstone and the F3s.
Yeah, and if you've watched this and thought, oh my god, they're so good at racing on iRacing, it's really easy to do that. You go on Apex Racing Academy, just Google it, it'll come up. They got 38 data packs across the GTs, open wheels, rally crosses. There's various levels as well, bronze, silver, gold packages. You can get one-to-one tutoring. It's tailored perfectly for you. So if you want to get involved, but you're not sure if you're quite going to be there, it's the Apex Racing Academy you want to check out. And of course, that's why they're here and showing you this series, is to get you over there. So hugely recommend you do that. But for now, for this week, that'll do it for the Apex Racing Academy F3 Championship. My name has been Tom Davis. I've been joined by Lorenzo Bonder. The technical director has been brilliant, and his name is Hugo Luis. And we hope to see you in 1 week's time. Have a good one, guys.